All right. Good morning, everyone. Let's get going. Okay. Yesterday's session on the S&P and the U.S. rest of the U.S. markets was a bit of a non-event. we we managed to grind back to make another new all-time closing high in the S&P 500, but other than that, it's just another day of sideways non-volatile action. We've got the VIX down there trading at all-time lows. We did have a lot of market data out yesterday. We had in the States, we had the weekly jobless claims number, which was more or less in line, as well as continuing claims. We also had the Philly Fed manufacturing index, which was a really nice beat. I mean, a very powerful number out of the Philly Fed number. And just kind of continue to see the overall theme being really positive for U.S. equity markets at the moment, U.S. data. So we're starting to see, the last couple of weeks outside of, Janet Yellen's comments of keeping rates lower for longer. We've started to see interest rates try to creep up in the States. They sold off bonds rally quite hard on the day that she spoke 2 days ago. But other than that, we've seen these data pieces start to move the nozzle or move the indicator the way that it's supposed to. So the good data has actually been pushing rates slightly higher over the last few sessions, which hopefully is a return to normality, which will be great, and we'll be able to actually, kind of play markets in the way that macros should be moving markets. So I think that's really important to note going forward, how the data is actually affecting markets, if you're getting good as good or bad as bad scenario, or if it's vice versa. So we'll continue to monitor that one over the next couple of weeks, and hopefully that remains the case. All right, Asian markets actually were mostly lower overnight, more than anything probably just due to lack of catalyst. We did have a hell of a run out of the commodity space late in the U.S. session last night, especially in the precious metals, gold being the front runner, traded up to about 13.16. And we also got a nice move out of copper and those kind of things. We didn't really get any follow through out of the mining stocks or the diversified miners in Australia. So maybe just a little bit of consolidation after the nice run that they saw yesterday, but definitely nothing there, and nothing really to kind of lead markets there either. I mean, there was very little leadership, very little kind of common theme to follow in Asia. All right, going into the weekend, we've got two stocks that are going X on Monday. That's Vodacom and Tiger Brands. Quite nice divvies there. You could see that Vodacom really traded well yesterday and even the day before. And then Tiger Brands paying a big divvy as well, 328.29, about a 1% divvy in Tigers. All right. Market data out today. We had PPI numbers that were out a little while ago from Germany. We have the ECB current account numbers a little bit later. We've got industrial sales out of Italy. We've got the current account, the NSA numbers out of ECB later. We've got industrial orders out of Italy, and then in the UK we've got the PSNBX interventions number, and we've got consumer confidence out of the Eurozone. So you can just freaking wipe all of this off of the board because it's absolutely a load of nonsense. So we've got nothing to really pay attention to in terms of market data today. We'll just have to try to follow the action. Hopefully there actually is some, following a bit on closeout and that big squeeze that we had yesterday in closeout. All right. First chart that we're going to look at here is actually the NASDAQ. I was just kind of moving through some of the maps yesterday, and quite amazingly, I didn't even realize this because I hadn't been really looking at this chart all that much the last few weeks. But you can see there very quietly we've had the NASDAQ, which crept right back up and is literally knocking on the door. Not knocking on the door. I mean, last night it retested all-time highs. I mean, we went right back and touched almost the exact same levels of, as you can see there, all-time highs for the Nasdaq, and that's really important. I mean, we had a 10% correction out of the Nasdaq, and we're already right back to the highs. And I think that's very, very important. We'll have to see how this phases out. You know, it kind of had been the leader earlier in the year, and as of late, it's just, you know, well, I guess maybe you could still call it the leader because markets have kind of been moving up with it again, but we didn't really get a correction in the rest of global equity markets along with the Nasdaq, but now we've drifted back up to the highs again. We'll be interested to see if we reverse off these levels again, or if we can punch through. I mean, if we can punch through, then I think there's probably definitely another real leg to the upside in global equity markets. So this one, to me, becomes a very important chart to watch over the next few sessions. All right, let's look at gold. Actually, it'll back out into a 2-year here. And we came up yesterday to test a very important level in the gold price. As you can see here, I'll just try to get this thing to show me. Okay, whatever. Anyway, you can see there, we testing a very, very important level as of yesterday. It's kind of hard to see there. Let me just try to zoom it forward just a little bit more so I can get the... it's not working. Anyway, you can see we came right up there and tested about 13... close to 1320 on trend resistance here. I think that's kind of important, but what's also important is if we go even further forward, you can see that we did break up above the above resistance, which we came up and failed at the other day. We were kind of showing this pattern 2 or 3 days ago as if it was, you know, kind of a classic bear setup. But we've broken up through resistance as of yesterday. That's very important. If we can get up above this longer term trend line, I think that's also very, very important. So we'll watch these things over the next few sessions and see how they're going to play out. On the back of that, we'll have a quick look at AngloGold and show how we came up and closed literally exactly at resistance. I think the number's at 180. You can see there closing right on that level. If you look at it, you know, this way as well, we're also kind of right at resistance, and I think that level is obviously very, very important. We closed it at close to 184 in US dollar terms last night. So the fact that, you know, obviously we'll probably open up through this 180 level if we can hold on to it and kind of get a close, or, you know, reasonably above 180 today, then I think this could be you know, could have a nice little run left in it on the back in the AngloGold. All right, we'll look at Naspers. I know we've shown this chart a lot lately, but, you know, the setup here I really think is good, and I think that this is something to keep an eye on. It very sleepily has kind of broken out and made a huge run here over yesterday's session, and we're very quietly approaching all-time highs again. And we had a little bit of consolidation right on top of what was resistance, now becomes support. We broke out up through that, and we've consolidated for about a week, and then yesterday we really just ripped up through it, kind of filling the gap up here to 1276, where we really gapped down from back in March. And I think that this thing is ready to make a move to take out all-time highs in Naspers. And like I said, it's also doing it very quietly, very much like the Nasdaq. I think it's not being paid attention to as much as you know, the share was kind of, you know, 2-3 months ago, and all of a sudden we're ready to make a move here in Naspers. So just keep an eye on that one. All right, Barlow's 2 days ago. I should have shown this chart yesterday, but we came the day before yesterday. We came down, and I mean, we were down over 5% on the day at one point. You can see where we were on the wick here. We traded down to about 98.70, if I'm not mistaken, and we just literally reversed it into the close. Big buyer came in, took probably $250,000 around 100, drove it all the way up to 100, and then they managed to close it up in the auction all the way up at 177. Yesterday we got follow through, traded up north of 103 to then closed at 103. I think what's important here is there's definitely some resistance right here, as you can see very clearly, around 105. And we kind of topped out there on the wicks a couple days. We never really put in a close, I don't think, higher than about 104. And I think if we can get above 105 in Barlow's, we can maybe look at a next level. I think 2 days ago the action was really telling. Yesterday the follow through on the back of that. We're kind of holding the 200-day. We're holding major long-term support to 100. So this is very important. I think that Barlow's has held that. So just watch it. If it gets north of 105, could be a good time to jump in and take some risk there. All right, and the last one I'm going to show here is it's Billiton's. Billy's has been in a ridiculously long consolidation phase. I mean, I'm cutting out a couple little wicks there, but you can see where we closed. We closed above that number yesterday, where this long consolidation's really been in a 10 rand range, and I don't think I've ever seen Billy's trade sideways for this long. This is going all the way back to literally the beginning of April. Almost the first trading session or two of April, all the way to now. And yesterday, we're finally kind of popping out the top end of that, and we're doing so really, after we've seen a real sell-off in some of the mining stocks. So I think that's important. I mean, Billy's is obviously kind of the most diversified one, probably the fund manager's pick of the litter. But just keep an eye on this thing. If we can hang above that level, this little level that we broke above around 344. I think this thing can move around about 10 rand to the upside, maybe about 354 in the next few sessions. And that's it for today, guys. Thanks a lot.